number 20 of 1998. Then I'll scale down to the issue of bylaws. We'll make a definition of what cooperative bylaws are. And then I'll go now to the main issue of the contents of the cooperative bylaws. So I'll talk about not all the sections or the clauses in the bylaw. I'll look at the preliminary definitions and interpretations, the statement of cooperative identity, and then I'll go briefly into the main structure, just to highlight a few issues that are very critical for the diligent operations of your cooperative. And before I conclude, I'll need to highlight the importance of bylaws, and then that will be the end of my presentation. Next.
Yes, sir. Apologies.
Are we together?
Yes, we are. I'm just bringing up your presentation again. I apologize. If you just
okay.
It seems to close. Sorry, just 1 minute, sir. My apologies.
No problem. Just let me know when you're done.
Okay. Share screen. Yes, sir. I'm back on to. We're now on the preamble page, sir. You are. Yes. Yes. Now you're here. You're on the preamble page, sir.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
So in my preamble, I want to bring out the mandate of the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise. And like I've already mentioned, I'll look at the legal framework that guides the operations and management of Zambia. And the Cooperative Act or Acts of Parliament, from which the formulation of individual bylaws are actually derived from. So I would also want to bring out the issue of why it is very important that we are actually adhere to the requirements of the law for cooperative development. Anywhere in the world, where cooperatives exist, there are issues of compliance. You know, we need to have law-abiding institutions and Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. So let me talk about the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development. This ministry came into existence through the Government Gazette number 1123 of 2021. And the main portfolio functions are as follows. First, there's cooperative development. We have small and medium enterprise incubation. We also have small and medium enterprises, mentorship, loans, incentives, and credit schemes. And we also have small and medium enterprises policy. And of course, small and medium enterprises development. This ministry, being new, has also taken the responsibility to delegate authority or responsibility to CEC, which is the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission. Of course, the plans are there that we have the village industry service. This is something that is still in the pipeline, but for the CEC, it's functioning already, and I think it has started issuing out loans to those that are deserving to be supported in their various enterprises. Next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I know there are many functions that the ministry is doing, but let me talk about the department that has prompted this, or maybe the department that is the main focus in our discussion this evening, which is the department where I'm coming from, and it's called the Department of Registration and Regulation of Department of Registration and Regulation. So the functions that it performs, the first one is we are the department that registers cooperatives and enterprises. Now, because we understand that when we register cooperatives, they need to be law abiding, so we have to make sure that they adhere to statutory requirements. Then the second thing that we do is we conduct inspections and management audits of cooperatives and enterprises, just to ensure that there is compliance. We have the legal side of it. We also have the administrative and the financial aspect of management of cooperatives. Then we also conduct arbitration. If, for instance, your union is in conflict with another cooperative, we are mandated to come in and resolve that kind of dispute. Then, of course, we also review cooperative development legislation in order to provide conducive environment for cooperative and enterprise operation. Of course, we keep track of all the cooperatives that we actually have registered, and there's a way that we do to ensure that cooperatives graduate from one level to the next. Then, of course, we develop and disseminate cooperatives and enterprise guidelines in order to enlighten stakeholders and make sure that we also follow the international best practices. Can we go to the next?
Yeah.
Now, the fourth slide looks at registration and regulation of cooperatives. I think I've already highlighted that in all countries where cooperatives exist, there are laws which govern the operations of cooperatives. Now, the same laws that parliamentarians enact, they provide a legal framework upon which departments like ours derive their mandate. So we are there to enforce compliance. We are there to enforce compliance. And the other thing is, cooperatives, just like any other registered business, need to have certain rules that are in black and white to ensure that they remain what they are. There's a tendency by cooperatives, sometimes when they become too big, they tend to lose their identity. But we are there to remind them that no, you are still a cooperative no matter how big you can or you become. So we make sure that the business according to the rules, processes, or laws. So that is our mandate. And that is one of the mandates that the department has been given. And we understand that in Zambia there are so many types of cooperatives. Like in the past, mainly it was agriculture-based cooperatives. But right now, there's a lot of diversification, and we know the kind of diversification that we have goes with a lot of other complications, and we are there to ensure that things are done accordingly. Next.
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to look at the legal provisions governing cooperatives in Zambia. So we have the main act, or the Cooperative Societies Act number 20 of 1998, which of course is an act of parliament. Now, it provides for the formation, when people want to form cooperatives, register cooperatives, and the regulation that I've talked about. So we have that act in place, to govern the establishment and registration of cooperatives. It provides for the rights and liabilities of members. You know, these are mass organizations, and we really have to ensure that certain rights and liabilities of the people that compose or comprise these institutions are spelled out very clear. And of course, we have the management part of it, where we have the board of directors, administration aspect of it. Of course, it provides for, among other things, issues of amalgamation, where two cooperatives can come together. It also provides, though it's not mentioned there, cooperatives that want to divide can divide, and issues of transfers of maybe share ownership, how do you wind up and how do you dissolve? So the Act provides for all those aspects, and I'm sure if you check your bylaws, most of these things may be coming out. Next.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, sorry, my slide let me down. I didn't follow the other one. So I was saying, maybe just to mention on the previous slide that we also have financial cooperatives which are guided under the same Act. We have financial cooperatives. Many will hear people calling them savings and credit or cooperatives or SACCOs. Now, besides the main Act of 1998, we have statutory instruments which are made or signed by the minister responsible to guide or operationalize the Cooperative Act. And I just talked about the current statutory instrument of 2022, which I think, as you later see, has revised the fees associated with cooperative operations. Can I proceed to 6?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you're on 6?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what is the effect of registering a cooperative like yours? So according to, I'm trying to highlight the sections in the Act, and I'm sure I've seen it very critical that after this presentation, I'll need to share the current Cooperative Act so that it will make more sense to what I'm talking about now, in case members don't have. But according to Section 14 of the COP Act, once you get a certificate of registration, you become a body corporate. You become a body corporate with perpetual succession. You can have a common seal and a limited liability. So you have the powers to do all such acts and things as a body corporate, as the law can provide you to do or perform. To become like any other person. I know the members in the union have paid up shares. You agree that you pay a certain amount of share capital. Now, how does the issue of limited liability become so serious? If you have agreed to pay, for instance, each one should pay all the 10 shares. If you pay 10 shares, it means this person called Avocado Cooperative Union, who have been given the whole mandate, meaning that if for instance, it fails to pay a loan, individual members in the cooperative will not be pursued to pay up. It means this person has actually failed because all the requirements towards share capital has been fulfilled by the members. So it's just like any other person. No wonder it can sue or be sued as a body corporate. So you find this Avocado Cooperative Union Limited. And I'm sure if you go to that section in your bylaws where it talks about limited liability or liability of the members, it's very clear. Yeah. No wonder if members don't pay up towards the cooperative, they will be followed up to the individual properties to pay up and ensure that the cooperative is able to operate. You can go to the next slide.
Yes.
Are we together?
Yes, sir. Number 7, sir.
Number 7. So I go to look at the salient sections of the Act. I continue. Now, I know cooperatives are a very peculiar kind of organization because of the nature that they are. Imagine grouping 10 or more people with sometimes different agendas, different backgrounds. Now, Section 7 of the Act sets that liabilities of members as a cooperative, of course, shall be limited to amounts, if any, unpaid. I think I've explained this point. Unpaid on the shares respectively held by them, or the membership fee as the case may be. Now, there are cooperatives that can be formed, not because they can be formed by just payment of fees, membership fees. Then there are cooperatives like yours, which I'm sure has the aspect of shares as well as membership fees. But what is critical in a cooperative like yours, which has limited liability because of the payment of shares, is that your liability is limited to the amount of any amount that is unpaid on shares. Then Section 23 states that your cooperative shall be governed by its bylaws. The minimum is 10, but you are not authorized by law to limit the membership. Now, I know there are certain times that an internal arrangement is made that for your cooperative to ease issues of coordination and management, sometimes you can limit the number, but there's always a way that people restrict entry into membership. But because these are open and voluntary institutions, it doesn't come out in the law that you can actually restrict or you can have an upper limit in the membership in your cooperative. Can go to the next.
Yes, done.
Now, Section 25 of the Act prescribes that any person who wishes to be a member of your cooperative shall not exercise the rights of a member until that person has paid to the cooperative. There's a section in the bylaw that talks about this. For instance, you can agree that each member will pay 10 shares. Now, for me to start exercising the full rights of membership, I need to pay for at least 3 shares. Meaning, if I've paid 2 shares out of the 3 shares that is indicated as the minimum before I can start exercising my rights, it means that one who has paid 2 shares will not exercise the rights. What are these rights that we're talking about? For instance, I will not stand for elections because I haven't reached the minimum threshold. I'm not a full member. That is the implication of this. I'm sure it's very clear. So you need to pay up according to your own bylaw, because that bylaw was discussed and agreed by the members that for us to start working, to start participating, making deliberations, the minimum is 3 shares out of the 10. But even when I paid for 10 shares, that does not mean that I'm more powerful than the other members. I think that will come later. Now, I proceed to Section 29(2). It comes to issues of voting. You may have paid all the 10 shares. And I'm assuming that maybe you agree that the minimum to be paid is 2 shares. That does not guarantee that the person who has paid for 10 shares has more votes than the person who has paid for 1 or 2 shares. Everyone has the equal right to have 1 vote. It's 1 man, 1 vote, 1 woman, 1 vote. And there shall be no voting by proxy. In a cooperative, there's nothing like, I'm not attending a meeting today, but I'm sending my vote through this person. No. So you must be there so that you physically exercise your right to vote, because these are democratic institutions. So the voting, again, is not based on the number of shares that someone holds. Can proceed?
Yes. Slide 8.
So we go to Section 30. You know, we may have members that are doing very well. They've a lot of money. the law allows that no one should hold more than 1/5 of the share capital of the cooperative society. Of course, it is something that needs to be agreed, unless the bylaws provide otherwise, for shareholding by other cooperative societies. So, for instance, if you are a primary cooperative society, you can still admit other cooperative societies to be members. I know you're a union. I was trying to look at the composition of the membership, but by definition, a union membership should be derived from the members should be primary cooperatives, unless otherwise. So meaning that if you're a primary cooperative comprising individual persons like myself, you can still have a clause that allows you to admit other cooperative societies. And this is where this holding of more than 1/5 of the share capital comes into play. But it's something that needs to be discussed and agreed by the members of the cooperative society. Why it happens so is the cooperative member is like any other person, but because I think you can have certain considerations, there's a reason why you bring the other cooperative to come on board. Sometimes it's because you're trying to boost the issue of share capital, but the voting still remains the same. Then Section 33 provides for the transfer of shares or interest on the death of the member. If a member passed on, the bylaws should provide for the transfer of shares or interest on share capital to the heir to the throne. There's someone who is always there to take over the membership. Though they have an option to either continue as a member or maybe they can decide to withdraw completely. Then Section 36(1) states that a member may at any time withdraw from a cooperative society, subject to the other provisions of this act and the bylaws. So it's not something that is cast in concrete where once a member, always a member. I can join today, tomorrow I can tell you I want to leave. Because these are they have open and voluntary membership. Of course, I can withdraw from membership. Section 37 provides that if I become a misfit, I become a deviant in the cooperative, I'm misbehaving, I'm misconducting myself, there's a process of expelling a member, meaning that I can be chased from the cooperative for a number of issues. For instance, I misappropriate funds and members agree that Munzere should leave. We don't want to see him because he has let us down, he has balanced the cooperative, plus so many other issues, which may be cited very clearly in your bylaws that if a member did this, he or she has to leave forever, for good. Then Section 38, this is where now it provides for the board of directors. You can agree, I'm sure you have agreed how many members comprise the board in your own bylaw, who shall be elected by the members at a meeting comprising all the members. That is what the law provides for. So when you have a board, it's because the act actually places that kind of clause in your bylaw. You can proceed.
Yes.
We continue with the rights and liabilities of members. Section 41 provides for the functions of the board of directors, because there's a reason why you elect them into office. Section 43(1) provides that the term of office of a director of a board shall be prescribed in the bylaws. There's a section, is this Section 9? Generally, from bylaws that I've seen, Section 9 provides for the number of bylaws that are there and for how long they will need to be in that office. Now, the Act provides that no single board member should serve for more than 6 years. Doesn't allow a situation where I get into
Sorry, sir, you're reconnecting.
Are we together?
Yes, now you're back. Now you're back, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I'm getting a lot of calls. People know that I'm home now. And okay, so I have to. If I've served for 6 years, continuously, I'm supposed to step down for a year before I can be reconsidered for election. Now it happens Munzer is put as a board member and is really driving the cooperative into so many projects and members are enjoying. So no matter how good I've been, I'm supposed to step down, rest for 1 year and then continue thereafter. That is what the Act provides for. So sometimes you have a situation where I come to the union to do the inspections, then I find that this man called John has been in the office for 6 years or 7 years. I will apply the law there and guide you that can you allow this man or this lady to rest? You can only consider his election the next annual general meeting. You can proceed to the next.
Yes, sir. Slide 8.
Yeah. Yes. So we want now to define what a bylaw is. A bylaw is a written document developed in a participatory manner, setting out a vision, objectives, the rules and the regulations to guide in the cooperative's activities. Now, it's done in a participatory manner. I think when you are applying for your cooperative, we demanded for certain information. We demanded for minutes of your formation meeting. We demanded for membership lists just to show that people participated or people are actually participating in that cooperative. And we demanded that certain instances, our officer should have been consulted on the formation of this cooperative. Now, why the participatory kind of involvement by the members? It's because this is a mass, it's something that is not owned by one person. So everyone must participate and share what is contained in the bylaw. What is the vision? It's not one man's vision, it is for everyone. What are the objectives? Those objectives work for everyone else who is a member. Because at the end of the day, it's the individual members that will actually have their livelihood uplifted. But we know, I may join a cooperative with an intention of their personal interests, maybe sometimes at the expense of the whole group. So we have these rules and regulations that guide how you operate on a day-to-day basis. So bylaws, when approved, or maybe when designed or drafted, must be approved by the general meeting at a meeting. Code for the purpose. You read through the bylaws and then people agree, and I'm sure on every page of your bylaw, you find that at the end there, the chairperson signed, the secretary signed. Just to confirm that all these clauses that are here have been deliberated upon by the members and all the members have agreed. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes, sir. We're on slide 9.
Yes. Now, I want to look at the contents of the bylaws. The contents of the cooperative bylaws. This is I've just uplifted a few issues that may really matter for now. So look at, maybe we can straight away go to because these are already highlighted as headings for the next slide. You can go to the next one.
Yes, sir. The next one.
Now, your bylaws, the first part that you look at is the preliminary definitions and interpretation. Of course, the act is defined. Board of directors, this is the governing body to whom supervision and direction of the cooperative affairs is entrusted by the members. So the board is very critical because these are the ones that ensures that the members' vision, the objectives of the cooperative are actually achieved. Of course, you define a cooperative as is contained in the Act. Now, we also define a member. And I think a member is qualified by what he pays in the cooperative. Then, of course, you have the non-member. You are operating in an environment where there are people who may, for instance, be growing avocados, but they are not members of the Avocado Cooperative Union. Now, what you want is quality products in the name of avocados at the end of the year. You are interested in the quality and quantity of the products that you are handling. So you may not have to start segregating on who supplies the avocados to your members. So you may have, I'm using the word may, you may have a clause where you say you actually do business with the non-members. But because they are not members, they may not enjoy certain incentives, certain good things that go with the membership of that particular cooperative. Can continue?
Yes, round the next.
Okay. The next is a dividend. I think in cooperatives, people invest shares. The interest sometimes is to make surplus, which members decide on how to treat it. Sometimes is added back in terms of reinvestment, or depending on the members' wishes, they would get that money and maybe use it. So dividend means the share of the net surplus of the cooperative society divided among the members in proportion to the number of shares fully paid for. So all the full shares, a portion of the share of the net surplus or the profit, so that it also motivates them that at least remember the investment that the members have done is actually getting rewarded by the operations of the cooperative. Of course, we have the registrar, who is the registrar who gives out certificates under which office I belong. Then you define a resolution. This is a decision made by the majority of the members at a duly constituted meeting. Now, these words are used deliberately. The majority of the members at a duly constituted meeting. We have had situations where a meeting is called to rubber stamp a resolution. No quorum is formed, the meeting is manipulated, and the so-called resolution is made. That is not right. So it must be a resolution or a decision passed by a majority of the members at a duly constituted meeting. A notice is given, you know who is coming, who is going to participate. Sometimes you find non-members were called to participate. So such resolutions are not holding water, and they go a very long way actually to demotivate the genuine members. Then you have what is called the patronage bonus. This depends on how much business a member does with the cooperative, and it comes from the net surplus that the cooperative realizes. So in your bylaws, there should be a limit. If you have agreed that a member should do business up to $1 million for one to actually deserve patronage bonus. So when you declare these profits, the board will sit and make a recommendation on how best to reward those people that are doing business with the cooperative. So what does this entail? It actually motivates members. If the way you're handling avocados and you are supposed to bulk the avocados and then go for the export market, there are members who would want to have fast cash. You find their site selling. They will be selling behind the until to members that are buying avocado. It means that they are not faithful members. And at the end of it, when you sit down to calculate the patronage bonus, they will not have gained as much as the faithful members who decided to sell the bulk of all their avocados to the cooperative. So it strengthens the link, the business link between the individual members and the cooperative, because at the end of the day, there's a reward for selling or doing business through the cooperative. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Now, we proceed to the statement on the cooperative identity. There's a very long definition there. We're saying a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. It's a mouthful. Now, a cooperative is autonomous because when you have gotten your certificate, you can operate independently. The only thing that we do as government is to come and ensure that the bylaws that you registered to do your business are being followed. There are so many temptations, but we ensure that you are within the rules and regulations. Of course, membership is voluntary, and all you want is an economic project. For instance, you are growing, and the intention, I'm sure, is to reach a level where you start exporting avocado, like other countries are doing. So you have that thing that binds you together. You want to reach certain levels and start earning dollars. But you not run away from the social aspect of these cooperatives. And culturally, because they are based in these communities, they will not be like an island. They are interacting with the communities where there are issues of culture, there are issues of social nature. And all you are doing is to meet your aspirations through a jointly owned, and then this business is democratically controlled. And that is where cooperatives usually, if they are not properly managed, you'll find they fail. Because people can vote to go against the business direction. It's democracy. So we have had situations where this cooperative will sit, and when you look at what they voted to do, it's not making business sense. In the end, or at the end of it, you find the cooperative actually gets grounded. So in as much as you have the business sense in what you do, there are times that democracy may defeat the direction. Now, in cooperative development, we have what are called cooperative values. Cooperative values, the first one is self-help. The belief is that people or members of a union are there to actually strive to control your own destiny. You know where you're going. As government, we just facilitate. You sat down to design the objectives. And because you know you are many, you are planning to do mammoth tasks. It means you have seen and assessed your capacity. So you are trying to say, alone you can't do it, but as a group, you can actually do it. United, you stand, divided, you fall. So you are trying to say, I cannot export avocados alone to maybe Europe or anywhere. But if I came around and grouped and become part of this group of 20 other farmers, then we know together we can. So we see that cooperatives are institutions that foster the continued education and development of all those involved with them. So as you proceed, there's issues of capacity building. And I'm very happy that a cooperative like yours has organized this kind of training, because sometimes education, people want to hide in lack of education that we can't develop because we don't know what to do. But look at the same person that is talking about lack of education. They are millionaires outside the cooperative. But when they come to cooperatives, the issue of self-help doesn't exist. All they want is, let's form a cooperative and then let's go to CEC with a begging bowl to borrow money. And because now that dependent syndrome exists in almost all the members, you find the cooperative does not even exist. So we have this situation where through self-help, people can be able to develop or grow their cooperative to very high levels. The government support from other partners which should only come later on, not where you just a cooperative today, already you're looking for donors to support you. Then it means you're not a cooperative. Can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Now, under the statement of the cooperative identity, we will also look at self-responsibility. When people join cooperatives, they actually accept that this is our responsibility and we are ready to go with it. We will make this establishment and we are ready to actually continue with the vitality. So members have the responsibility of promoting their cooperative among their families, friends, and acquaintances. Members should also ensure that the cooperative remains independent. Because it's your cooperative. Us as government will just come in to advise you. We advise you that this should be the direction. The members should also agree that for them to have this continuity and develop to levels that all of them admire to go, there are issues of responsibility, where they assume responsibility that this is ours and we are ready to move forward. The next one is democracy. In cooperatives, decision making is based on tenets of democracy. Like I've earlier on said, each member has one vote, regardless of the number of shares invested. The next one is equality. Cooperatives are based on equality. Members, whether an individual or a group, are all equal. I can have 20 shares, the other person have 2 shares. We are the same, we are equal. And it doesn't look at, no, this one is an Induna, this one is, no, it's just members at that level. All of us are members. Our statuses will only be seen after we leave the meeting, if it's a meeting, for instance. Then the other issue is equity. Achieving equity within a cooperative is continuing, never-ending challenge. Equity, fairness. It also refers to how members are treated within a cooperative. They should be treated equitably in how they are added for their participation in a cooperative. Normally through patronage dividends. The more I do, the more I get in terms of the rewards. The more shares I have, the more interest will accumulate to my investment. So there's nothing like, no, this one is the senior citizen, I think he deserves more. It depends on how you actually participate, if it's patronage bonus. Can continue. Now, the other issue is solidarity. Solidarity just ensures that cooperative action is not just a disguised form of limited self-interest. A cooperative is more than an association of members. It believes in collectivity, collective effort. Collective effort, and just to highlight on this, you become members of this cooperative because you have a common felt need. And if you have a common felt need, it will enable you to stand together. All of you believe that avocado is a product of the day. And I'm sure that is a core business that you are doing. I will not come there and start talking about cashew nuts. I think I belong to another group where cashew nuts are talked about. Do not come there to start talking about fish. No. It's all avocado. The color is green. Meaning that whenever we sit down there, the punctuation marks avocado. So solidarity is a very cause and consequence of self-help and mutual help. Two of the fundamental concepts at the heart of cooperative philosophy. Working together, united as one, that builds up the cooperative. Now, it is this philosophy which distinguishes cooperatives from other forms of economic organizations. I think I mentioned earlier on that cooperatives are peculiar because of the way they are structured and the way they actually operate. Can go to the next.
Yes, sir.
So we proceed to the issue of cooperative principles. Now, cooperative principles are guidelines by which cooperatives put their values into practice. We have talked about values, but how do cooperatives effect this? Now, I want to hasten to mention that these cooperative principles are actually, they've been blessed by the International Cooperative Alliance. This is a global institution with the core business of cooperative development. So these principles, they are not just applicable, like for instance in Zambia, they are applicable to all those that foster to develop through cooperative enterprises. So the first one is voluntary and open membership. There's no segregation based on maybe if you are a woman, your social belonging, your racial kind of belonging, political or religious discrimination. That time, because we have this common felt need, we don't look at all those aspects of tribe, political affiliation, and the like. But I'm sure the members will concur with me that sometimes cooperatives, even in Zambia, have been formed because, for instance, UNIP is in power. When MMD comes into power, the cooperatives that were formed under UNIP are not seen as viable cooperatives. They are segregated, and that hasn't helped the cooperative movement in Zambia. The moment you bring in these issues of segregation, then you're not helping the people of Zambia. It means we are getting divided through issues that should have been ignored, because the common enemy that we are fighting is poverty, or maybe we want to develop our areas. The second principle is democratic member control. I think I've labored to explain this, where members are people Are we together?
Yes, you've come back now.
Okay, the third principle is member economic participation. I think we talked a lot about the members contributing equitably to, and then democratically controlling the capital of their cooperative. So there's this contribution, and you can't join a cooperative without making a contribution financially, because everything else, if you have to do business, you can do business unless you're in barter system, but money has to be applicable so that people invest, you run your business, then you get surpluses, and you allocate surpluses for purposes of maybe developing the cooperative. Sometimes you decide to set up reserves. Sometimes you give out patronage bonus. So members sit to say, we are contributing this money, we run this business. When you make more money, we'll move forward to the next level to continue reinvesting in what we want to do. We continue investing in what we want to do. I can give you an example of one cooperative that has not been paying out dividends to members or even patronage bonus. The Livestock Cooperative Society, and if you went into details of what they've done, they've actually become very big, because they don't share the surplus. All they do is, when they make this money, they invest. When they make this money, they invest. Of course, they decide on their own what to do. So it's up to the members to decide how best to actually treat the surplus derived from the members' contribution through share capital. You can proceed.
Yes, sir. 121.
Yes. So I think I talked about autonomy and independence, where cooperatives are autonomous, self-help organizations controlled by their members. So the member participation they will actually control their own cooperative.
Sorry,
To
sir. Could you
reach
repeat
certain
that?
levels. I'm saying cooperatives are autonomous, self-help organizations controlled by their members. If members have no say in their cooperative operations through assemblies, through the board, it means that ceases to be a cooperative. It ceases to be a cooperative. Now, there are times that the members or the cooperative who enter into agreements with other organizations, including government itself, or raise capital from external sources. When they do this on terms that ensure democratic control by their members and maintain their cooperative autonomy. For instance, when you get funding support from a donor, you have to agree on the terms to a point where members' rights are not trampled upon by this donor. For as long as it remains a cooperative, there's no way this donor, this government will dictate terms on how you operate. Now, you have to agree that we remain a cooperative. Despite having this kind of support, the members' rights must be respected. And for sure, when you are entering into these agreements to get support, you must have read all the terms and conditions so that you don't sell out the members' rights. You should not sell out the members' rights because now this donor has come. Or else, if that happened, you find that members start withdrawing from the membership. Hello?
Yes, sir. We're here.
There's a very heavy downpour here, so.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate you doing this.
The fifth principle is education, training, and information. Actually, by doing what we are doing now, we are applying this principle. It's a principle where members are being enlightened, members are being trained, there's sharing of information. This kind of training is actually applicable under this principle. So, no wonder it's very exciting for us that you have decided or chosen to actually engage us so that we do this kind of training. It enlightens the members. You know, when the members are not enlightened, they will not contribute effectively to the development of the cooperative. Because anything that you talk, especially from the constitution, the bylaw, they are not aware. And how do you expect them to move forward if they don't know their rights and obligations? Then you are also informing the general public about your activities. Who are the people which could join you? So you sell yourself to the public. You sell yourself to the public. There are people who can just help you by merely giving you technical advice. Sometimes they'll tell you, I can advise you that this thing you can do it like this and that. But I will not be a member. Free time kind of technical advice. So education, training, and information, this is actually very important to a point where if people are not trained, you don't expect them to move in that direction. They need to be enlightened for them to have effective contribution. Next.
Slide 22.
Hello. Okay. The sixth principle is cooperation among cooperatives. Now, I alluded to the fact that if your cooperative is a cooperative union, the membership may be primary cooperatives. I know there's a cooperative in Mongo, which is dealing in avocado. There could be another one, maybe on the copper belt, plus others. Now, why did we decide to move from the level of a primary cooperative? A primary cooperative is constituted of individual members. But what prompts you to form up this big organization that comprises individual cooperatives? It's because you want to reach certain levels. You are moving from the local level to the national level, and sometimes even up to regional and international structures. So the sky is the limit for you. And you can only achieve that if you are able to cooperate among yourselves. So this is a principle that actually applies to that. So you have to be very effective, and you strengthen the movement by working together through these levels that I've just talked about. Then the last principle is concern for the community. You are not operating in a vacuum. You have just one example where as the cooperative develops, it makes money, it declares surpluses, you can adopt an orphanage, you can adopt a school, you can donate to charity. In essence, actually, you can do your corporate social responsibilities as a cooperative. That is the last principle.
Slide 23. Hello, sir. You are back now, sir.
I'm back. Okay, you can proceed.
Yes, I'm on slide 23 now.
Okay. Now, I will not dwell so much on this slide because you have the name of the cooperative, you have your objectives, you have the membership, and this is critical. When people are applying for membership, the board has to sit and approve the membership based on some laid down criteria. So who should become a member? Like I was saying, if it's avocado, I need to show proof that I'm actually in this industry. Because if I'm not, what is my interest? And when I join, what are the rights? Which the Bible should be very clear on the rights. What are my obligations? What are their liabilities? Now, like I've mentioned, there's a tendency to apply or maybe to allow members to join the cooperative single-handedly. The chairman will just say, no, secretary, can you indicate this person? This person has joined the cooperative today. Such kind of practice brings problems. So the board should sit and consider application for membership, because we end up recruiting people who are there to destroy the cooperative. They are coming there with a lot of interest in one thing, and they are eyeing to be treasurer just today. I've joined today, but I'm eyeing to be treasurer. Next time we hear this person has prepared with the money. So the board needs to sit and scrutinize all membership applications so that you don't recruit people that don't deserve to be members. Of course, on membership, I think I've alluded to the issue of termination of membership. How does someone join? How is someone supposed to leave? There are even issues of suspension. You can receive suspension based on what your bylaw says. Suspending because we are still investigating that. When he went with a truck to sell avocados, he influenced management to spend money on this and this and this. Sometimes someone can be expelled. Or I can decide to withdraw from the cooperative membership. I can decide to withdraw from the cooperative membership. Can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Share capital. I've always told cooperatives that if you sit be it at a general meeting, board meeting, and then you don't discuss issues of money, issues of investment. How many members have paid money? What is remaining? What is the way forward? What is our business plan talking about? It's better than you just disband, because you have no business to discuss. So the shares are actually a foundation. So what is the minimum number of shares towards the cooperative before I can have the full membership rights? In your constitution, there could be a provision that if you don't pay full shares up to minimum threshold within maybe 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, then you forfeit or your membership can be nullified. Why does it happen like that? Because in cooperatives, we have what is called free rider problem. There are people who can, you remember I've talked about the issues of equality? Equality, where when I've paid little, I'm still counted as a member. So some people are very, very cunning. They would rather pay just one share, because after all, services will not be segregated in terms of services. So no wonder cooperatives must put the time limit. If I don't pay full shares within 6 months, then my membership is nullified. That is to encourage people to actually pay up. Because the cooperative, this person called Avocado Union, is waiting for people to pay up shares so that it's able to do business. But Munzere says I can only pay one share. After all, I'm going to get chemicals for my avocado farm. No, I must pay up to a certain threshold. And that threshold should make business sense. So that when that is paid by all the members, you're able to start, maybe you want to buy a truck, or maybe you're buying seedlings for your members, whatever it is. Now, application fees or membership fees. Application fees are paid upon application for membership, while membership fees, sometimes the board or the members will agree that this is every year, members are supposed to pay the annual membership fees. But I want you to take note that sometimes a person will pay membership fees. The bylaw provides that you have to pay, as you are applying, you pay application fee. And then they will tell you, maybe pay for at least one share. Now, if my application is rejected, the membership fee is not refundable. But the share that I've paid will be refunded, because after all, I'm not an investor in that. But the membership fee is an administrative cost. It goes towards administrative cost. Sometimes people will sit there using stationery, they will need refreshments and the like. Now, there is a common practice that sometimes members only pay application fees. And then you have a full list of all these 50 members so-called, who have not paid for a share or for shares, and they are called members. That is not right. So if you check your bylaws, it will show you the qualifications for membership. Pay for 2 shares plus entrance fee, or pay for this kind of number of shares plus this. When you pay only membership fee, you have just, for instance, you have just said hi to the chairperson. You haven't even made an application. So take note of what your bylaws say, that a person who pays only membership fees, when the bylaw also provides for payment of shares, cannot be called a member unless membership fees are a basis of membership. You can have donors that will give you a project that is enough capital ready to justify that you have share capital. Then all you do is, for you to meet the administrative costs, you tell the members to pay membership fees. It happens, and the law allows for that. Hello.
Yes, sir. Maybe while I have you now, can I just pass a message on to the members? Dear members, normally our training session is 1 hour. However, I'm finding this very riveting, so I will continue the presentation. However, those of you who can't continue, Please feel free to put questions in the chat, and I will ask your questions at the end of the presentation. And the link, that is a YouTube link, can be played at any time. So if you put your questions in and play the link tomorrow, you will have the answer. Also, I'll be sharing the contact details for Mr. Powers with his permission, so you are able to ask any questions that you like. So just to those members who are not able to stay longer. Thank you, sir. If you want to continue, I'm on slide 25 now. Thank you.
Okay. Then very critical to the cooperative operations, you now look at the funds of the cooperative. Of course, we have the shares. This is the money that initiates the business in the cooperative. Then we have the fees. I've talked about the application and membership fees. Then there are times that your bylaw will provide for deposits from members. You can provide for that. There are members who have money that they may not want to use now, but they can deposit. Of course, with an expectation that they will have some kind of interest on their deposit, just like the bank arrangement. Then, of course, we have loans from members or other sources. You can still borrow from. There are members that are within this union who can sometimes say, I'm ready to lend you, for instance, 5 million, and then you agree. So that forms part of the funds of the cooperative. Then you also, I'm sure you have an account. Your money is resting at the bank, sometimes earning interest, or the bank is enjoying it. That is part of the funds of the cooperative. You can also have reserves to save for the rainy day. There are certain times that you need to fall back on the reserves. And of course, we have interest on deposits and investment. The cooperatives can decide to invest in another institution. We have a situation where a cooperative can, allowed by law, a cooperative can actually have a subsidiary company. It has happened before, and cooperatives are doing that. I'm sure the livestock corp that I talked about has now a franchise in Mazabuka, which is falling under the cooperative. So you're trying to say, for us to reach out, I think we need this kind of an institution for the benefit of this investment. Of course, you can open savings accounts from members. Members will save the same way that banks accept savings from the public. But that does not allow you to start accepting money from, for instance, non-members in the name of boosting up. You know, the moment you start, you are not a savings and credit cooperative, you are a union, but within an internal arrangement, you can have members depositing, opening a savings account within the cooperative is allowed. But the moment you start soliciting money from the public to save with you in the name of saving, I'm sure you know what it attracts. The Bank of Zambia's eye will be on you. Now it will be like, why are you dealing with the public when the law allows you to do it, members? We proceed?
Yes, sir. We are on slide 26.
Now, you have done your operations for 12 months and you have made net surplus. The bylaws may provide for distribution of surplus as follows. You have the reserve fund. You have the dividends on fully paid up shares. The issue of types of dividends does not come out in the act, but I don't know, as a cooperative, I think you can devise a way of, so long the members can agree, if there are types of dividends that you need to pay, I think it's something that you need to explore. Then of course we have the patronage bonus, which is paid out as recommended to the General Assembly by the board.
You have disappeared again, sir.
Hello.
Yes, you're back now, sir.
Yeah, there are times that the members of the committee or the board could have served diligently for a long time. Your bylaws may provide for payment of gratuity or honorarium. You're just honoring them for the job well done. Though this clause in the bylaws has not been very helpful, it's like people serve for 6 years, the cooperative wants to award them or reward them for the job well done. But because the cooperative has not made surplus, that money remains owing. We have had situations where former directors have sued their cooperatives. They've sued their cooperatives for non-payment of honorarium. So usually, because of the limited surplus that is made by cooperatives, we usually don't encourage this kind of situation. But it's up to the cooperative. If they have the capacity and they want to reward a well-performing director, former director, they can go ahead and do it. I've talked about trade with non-members. Can trade with non-members, but they don't deserve the cream of what the members' benefits are. So they may not be entitled, but they will not be entitled to patron bonus, and they may not access services if such offer of services is at the expense of the members. That's one of the motivating factors to remain as a member. So you'll find that people who are non-members, because of this, the forfeiture of certain things, the next morning they will come to your office and say, we want to join also as members, because they would also want to enjoy the patron bonus or the services, especially when services are limited. They would also want now to start enjoying such services. You can proceed.
Yes, sir.
Now, we have in your bylaws, there's a portion that talks about organizational setup. So I want to summarize this organizational setup in what we call the cooperative triangle. The cooperative triangle, we have on top there is a general membership. On the right, which elects and supervises the board of directors. So the boss to the board of directors is actually the general membership, not vice versa. Not vice versa. Then the board appoints and supervises the cooperative staff. The board appoints and supervises the cooperative staff. And the cooperative staff services, or they render services to the general membership. So that is the organizational setup. But I can tell you that some of these cooperatives that have become so powerful, the board wants to supervise the general membership. The moment the board feels like now, because they've made millions, then they feel that now they are the overall boss to the members. Just know that that cooperative days to survive or exist are numbered. Because the members can decide to actually just dissolve or resolve to liquidate, self-liquidation. So that is all about the organizational setup. So this relationship is very critical if a cooperative must move forward. No matter how big a cooperative becomes, they should remember the genesis of that size. They've become big now because these members, the general membership, actually contributed whatever small amounts of money to this kind of organization, and they remain the supreme, the body, a supreme body, or the general of the General Assembly. You can proceed. Yes. Now we have the board. The board is given powers by the general membership to actually start operationalizing the cooperative. There are certain times that the board of directors may appoint subcommittees. For instance, if there's a project within the mainstream activities of the cooperative, they may decide to appoint a subcommittee with delegated responsibilities to spearhead or undertake a certain project. You may have, for instance, under Avocado Union, appoint a subcommittee, a marketing subcommittee, which will be answerable to the board. And at no time should a subcommittee become stronger than the board, because they were just appointed and given instructions. So there's no way subcommittee can start giving instructions to the employer, no. Now, let me come to the issue of board of director composition. Your bylaws, for instance, provide for 9 directors. Now, there's what we call terms of office for the 9 directors. To assure that there's continuity and we maintain institutional memory within the cooperative, there's a system that we allow in as far as giving out or giving terms of office for directors. For instance, if there are 9 directors, 3 directors are expected to retire after 1 year in office at the first annual general meeting. Then another 3 directors should retire at the second annual general meeting. Then the remaining 3 directors should retire at the third annual general meeting. So meaning, you have these 9 directors elected, like if today is our AGM, they are given these terms of office. When we have the next annual general meeting, these 3 directors who have served for 1 year are supposed to step down, meaning the other 6 will remain. So the 3 will go, so that another 3 are actually elected from the general membership. Now, that does not mean that these that have served for 1 year will not be eligible to be elected into office. No. If the members still want them to continue, there are instances when they'll just say, no, these are retiring, but we want them to continue. So meaning there are always directors who have been around within the board. And it helps because now there is this kind of continuity within the operations. Can you imagine if all the 9 directors left and they had projects that they are designed to actually implement? It means when the new set of 9 directors come, sometimes they'll say, that was not good. I think let's start afresh. It does not help the cooperative to move forward. And I think I talked about the issue of 6 consecutive years. No director should serve continuously for 6 years. They need to rest for 1 year and be considered for election next meeting. Continue.
Yes, well, slide 29.
Now, board members need to sign what we call a declaration of office form. This is just to commit themselves to perform their functions diligently. They are there to serve the masses, not for their own interests. So they need to sign some kind of commitment that they will perform their duties as required or as is expected by the members. Now, the board of 9, within there you have what we call the executive. The executive committee, these are actually supposed to have a day-to-day interaction with management, because when the board makes resolutions, the chairperson, for instance, the vice, and sometimes when you have recruited, you have what we call the executive director in the cooperative circles. The executive director, these are board members. Then you have the manager, the general manager of the Avocado Union, who forms part of the executive. So the chairperson, the vice, and the executive director, plus the manager. This is the engine of the cooperative. They will be interacting. Sometimes they agree that every week they need reports every month. So as they are interacting, or as they are doing the business for the cooperative, there will come a time when the full board now will come. So it's the executive to report to the full board on what they've done. Because the board will set targets. If there's a business plan, there's a work plan, they want certain things to be done by certain timelines. So it means the chairperson, the vice, the executive, plus the management, they will be up and running to make sure that the board's aspirations, which is the members' aspirations, is actually achieved. So they have the day-to-day contact with management, and they should be there to make sure that operations are going according to what the members want. Now, I want to talk about the liability of the board. If a loan or other transaction is made in contravention of this act, all the officers of the cooperative society who made the loan or other transactions or assented thereto shall be jointly and severally liable to the cooperative society for the amount of the loan or other transaction, and may only be relieved of such liability by a decision of the court. So it's collective responsibility. Make sure that you know what you're doing. Don't get a loan which will land the cooperative and yourselves into court. So you have to be very considerate, consult. That's why we are there. As we are there and we have the institutional experience of what has happened or what has been happening. What has been happening in the cooperative development circles. Then, are we together?
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay, the issue of meetings. Meetings are very critical. I'm sure you just had your annual general meeting a month ago.
Yes, sir.
For that is a very good sign. It means people are talking to each other. Unlike a situation where the cooperative is formed, people have paid for shares, the required minimum. Thereafter, the chairperson becomes too busy now. Too busy. How do you become too busy when you're holding people's money? Now, you expect people to have paid the minimum 3 shares, and then you're not telling them how the money has been used, whether the projects that they resolve to do are being done. They lobby for meetings, they give you a petition to convene a meeting, you are too busy. Do you think they will pay the remaining 7 shares if the maximum should be 10? They won't. You have to justify, convince them that the first money that they've paid has gone towards this. And that is only possible when you have an annual meeting. An annual meeting, general meeting, is where you report what you have done in one financial year. Now, there are certain times that you need to hold a special general meeting. A special general meeting is actually for a specific item. For instance, you have won a contract to supply avocados to Europe. The members need to know, because that's a jackpot. So you call them for a special item. And of course, you can agree as members that you'll be holding meetings quarterly. These are ordinary meetings. As per your calendar, you are holding this meeting. As per your calendar, you are doing this kind of activity. So you need to report back to members, and then you move forward. These meetings can be at the level of the board or the general meeting, or the general assembly. Then, of course, we have management meetings. These are for managers, members of staff. We have senior managers, they'll be holding these meetings just like that. And continue.
Yes, slide 30. Only 4 more left.
So then I want to talk about records and accounts management. If you checked your bylaw, I'm sure there's the last section, and I'm not very sure how your bylaw is constituted, but I know it is there on the records that the cooperative needs to keep. So you need books of books and statements of accounts, and other books in relation thereto of all your undertakings. Because when we come as government to check what you are doing, we shall look for these records. You know, the government is the custodian of the public interest. So we want to come and see how these books are being kept. How are the funds being used? What activities are you doing? What property do you have? We'll make sure that when we come there, we check for these records. Are you meeting at board level, General Assembly level? What is the work plan like? What are you doing generally? For the sake of the member, that is the interest of government. So there are certain times again that you have done business for 12 months, then you need to close your books of accounts, conduct audits, and then you go and report to the general meeting. This is a statutory requirement. Report back to the members. You can also have a system of internal audits where internally you can have an internal audit system. You can have an internal audit system. I know our cooperatives, I was interacting with one cooperative. When I asked them whether they have internal audits, they said no, the chairman does that. Well, it's not supposed to be the chairperson, because the chairperson is the one who approves these payments. So before he approves, an independent internal audit system must actually check what is or how the funds are being used. And that will actually promote transparency and accountability. Proceed.
Yes, sir. Slide 31.
Yeah, so the registers that you need to come and to actually have, if your office is in Mongo, if your office is in Lusaka, you need to have a register of members, a membership register, showing the names, addresses, the membership number, the shares held, when they were admitted for membership, if at all they've been removed from membership for various reasons, and if there are any names of nominees. You remember initially I talked about if someone passed on, who takes over? Sometimes these are nominees. And if you have any solicitors or legal experts within your cooperative, of course, any business, any normal operating business will not run away from the cash book, indicating all the monies that have been paid, that have been received, and what is currently in the cash box or at the bank. Let me emphasize something on the issue of receipts. Make sure that as members are paying whatever amount of money, the receipts must be issued to avoid members suspecting that this money is not accounted for. You can be doing very well, but members need to have evidence that they've paid for shares, they've paid membership fees, they've made this donation, because money is very tempting. When money is there, the devil is also admiring to come in. So make sure that this money is properly accounted for. So you must devise a system where all the money is coming in, all the money is going out, have the payment vouchers, have a due process of approval, scrutiny, all such kind of things to ensure that the system is not porous. Money should not leak. There should be no leakages. Of course, you have the ledgers, the minute book. Show us that you are meeting and you are discussing issues. There are times that you may decide to have a share register strictly showing shares. Very critical. Strictly showing shares. That is besides the general membership register, but you just want to track the issue of shares. So you have that share register which is showing what has been paid, What has not been paid? Strict shares. Of course, there are times that the registrar would want you to keep certain or maintain certain records. So he will advise from time to time that we want that kind of information to be kept by your cooperative. Now, these register, these records, the members have the right to check what is happening. If you are the treasurer and I'm a member wanting to see how people are paying, in terms of how monies are being, like you have a file indicating financial statements, eh? There's no way a member should be told, no. This is for the board alone. You can't see how we have used the money in a month. No. So members need to clearly know or maybe have an opportunity to have access to this information. But generally, it should be through a meeting where reports are given, people raise questions. The board should not be too busy to answer questions. That has been one thing that has destroyed cooperatives. You suppress questions, just know that you are suppressing interest. Next time, members will not participate. That is very critical. And it has led certain cooperatives to actually stop operating effectively and efficiently. Yeah. We can proceed.
Okay, we're on slide 32.
So I think we have seen from so far that the bylaws defines what you are. If you decide not to adhere to the bylaws, I think the consequence is very clear. For us, if you infringe on what the bylaw says and members protest, they complain, we have the way we do it, though it's the most painful way that we do sometimes, just to tell you that we are cancelling this, though you're not following what you thought that you do. So it's a very important document because it spells out the relationship between and among the organs of the cooperative society, and therefore it serves as on the daily operations of the cooperative. So, Bible, it's like going to church. A church which does not use the Bible, you start wondering kind of instrument they're using. So they're guided by these write-ups. So we have this Bible which has been approved by government. But sometimes as we are operating, you realize that certain clauses are not beneficial to you. The law allows that you can actually amend. You just contact us. If you're not very sure how to do it, we can guide you on how to do the amendments. You can amend or change certain clauses of the Bible. So,
Yes, I'm sorry. I just need to cancel some. There we go. Go ahead, sir.
okay, we can proceed to the next one, the last one.
The last one, yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm saying it is extremely important for your members to understand the provisions of the Cooperatives Act, as this is a guide on the operations of the cooperative. So, the base of the Cooperative Act was the same act. This is the act that guides the creation of the bylaws. And I think, as you will see, it has some overriding powers over certain matters, which may not be explicitly stipulated in the bylaws. So where the bylaw is silent and an issue arises, we refer to the act. Therefore, it's a requirement that a cooperative must have the Cooperative Act in their possession, and there's need to make reference on a very regular basis because there are issues that you really need to be guided as you move forward. If you ignore the act, if you ignore the bylaw, then you are looking for another definition of yourselves, which ceases to be a cooperative. And I think I've done my part.
Yes, you have.
I want to thank you much.
We appreciate your kind, sir. Thank you so much for giving us a presentation. I would ask you very quick questions. If you are okay to give us just brief answers, I'd appreciate that, since our members have been patiently waiting to ask you questions. So there are 3 questions on YouTube and 7 on the chat. So the first question that is on YouTube is, after the cooperative makes profits, how will the sharing be to every member with shares? This is from Doreen Monga.
The sharing of
profits. After the cooperative makes profits, how will the sharing be to every member with shares?
Okay. I can answer that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happens is you do your operations, you operate for the financial period, then at the end of that financial period, especially when you get audited, you have this audited report which shows that you have made so much, like you have made 2 million profit. This is net profit or net surplus. The board, according to your constitution, the bylaw, you decide on how, the board will make recommendations on how the surplus will be apportioned or shared.
Thank you.
And I think I've talked about reserve funds, interest on capital. Sometimes you can say part of the surplus is what we use to educate our members. You can create an education fund. You can pay patronage bonus.
Thank you, sir.
So,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, so sometimes your bylaw, I'm using the word, sometimes your bylaw may have percentages on the priorities that will receive certain percentages before you can talk of giving out patronage bonus. Like you can say maybe 25% reserve fund, maybe 10% of the total surplus when it will go to interest on share capital before you can consider like education or patronage bonus.
Thank you.
So the board will still make recommendations, but the general members must approve that this is how we want to share the capital. Sometimes the board will make these proposals, but the member will say, no, for us, can you reinvest everything? Don't give us anything for now because we want to grow big. Okay.
Yes, sir. I think you've actually answered Madam Chilubi's question about what determines share price. So you seem to have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So the next question I'll ask will be from the members on Zoom. So the first question comes from Mr. Kaonga. He says, did I get him correctly when he said that those who have not paid a full share are liable to pay if the entity is sued and requires to pay another party? That's to you, sir.
Yes, what is there? There's the issue of limited liability. Assuming that all the members have paid all the shares, you agree that you pay each one 10 shares, and all of you have paid. And there happens to be an issue that needs the cooperative to pay up. Like if you got a loan, which at the end of the day you fail to pay, it means it is the cooperative itself which has failed because you gave it all the shares. So it has failed to perform. But if you have only paid half and the cooperative half the total shares, and the cooperative has a challenge and is being sued to pay up, and the only option is to look at the remaining balance in terms of shares, you'll find them now they will come to Munzir and say, can you please pay up the balance of your shares? There's a problem this side. Because it means if you haven't paid all the shares, you have incapacitated the cooperative to perform. No wonder it is failing to live up to its expected performance in terms of servicing the debts or doing certain activities. But when all of you have paid, it means there's that limited liability because you have, after all, paid all the shares. So why should they come or follow you to your individual prospects? So it's better the cooperative is, all the shares are paid so that people are not hunted down like to clear up the loans and other things.
Thank you. Mr. Kaonga, has that answered your question, sir? You are on mute, but I'll come back to you. The next question is from Dr. Chimoga. Please make me understand, is there a term called executive officers in the board and others called ordinary board members? That's to you, sir.
Okay.
She elaborates by saying, for example, to simplify my question, the chair, secretary, and treasurers have more privileges in the board, including their allowances, than other board members. Is that accurate?
Okay, let me explain this way. Okay. You have 9, for instance, you have 9 directors. You have the chairperson. You have the vice.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want you to look at the secretary treasurer. When the cooperative has recruited management, there's no need of a board member being a secretary. It means the general manager or the manager assumes the role of a secretary and a treasurer. So you have the chairperson, the vice chairperson, and then you have, sometimes, it depends on how you have designed your bylaw. You can have the third person called an executive director. This executive director, chairperson, and vice, they form what is called the executive. Now, I'm using the word, it depends on how you have designed your bylaw. They form what is called the executive. So it is the chairperson, the vice, and the executive director who are interacting with management on a day-to-day basis. And because they are working on, like, they can be meeting, let me tell you a case where maybe the chairperson and the vice can make a program, a rota, that they can be getting reports from management, depending on the circumstances, every Friday. So they are, in a month, there's always the chairperson or vice who is receiving reports or just overseeing what is happening at the cooperative level, at the cooperative office. Every week, someone is going there. So sometimes the executive can be maybe entitled to some allowance. Now, the authority to get allowances comes from the general members. They don't give themselves. They will recommend that because of these commitments, there's an opportunity cost that is involved there. Because of these commitments, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we compensate these people? Either they are entitled to transport refund or they are entitled to duty allowance. It's not something that is imposed by the board. The board must seek permission to start paying these people at that level allowances of whatever magnitude.
I see.
It must be approved and sanctioned by the members themselves.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll come back to the question. Oh, yes.
The ordinary board members are the rest of the members. But that does not mean that as if they are inferior. No, it's just the term. You're ordinary. You're not holding any portfolio. You're just an ordinary member.
I see. Which brings me nicely to the next question. Mr. Mushibo is asking, can a cooperative member withdraw membership and yet remain a shareholder? To you, sir.
A cooperative member is one who has paid. He's been authorized to say, you have applied by paying maybe one share and an application fee. But because the board has said now you are genuine, you look genuine, you are being admitted as a member, so this man or this lady becomes a member. Now, who is a member? A member is one who has applied and has been admitted. You pay entrance fee or application fee and a share. The moment I say I want to go, the only thing that will not be refunded to that person who is withdrawing is the membership or application fee. The shares can be.
I see. Oops. We shall wait for you to come back.
Yeah. So when I want, are we there?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah. So if I've been a member, I don't expect my application fee to or my membership or annual subscription to be refunded. The only thing that will be refunded is my share capital. If there's any interest accrued to that, the board will sit and examine my case and see what I deserve.
Wow. Okay.
But I can assure you that your constitution, your bylaw has a provision where it says if Munzere withdraws from membership, or if Munzere and the other three people withdraw from membership, and that makes the corporate
Apologies, members. There you are. You're back, sir.
Hello? Yeah, they will tell you you can't withdraw now, but you have taken note. We'll pay you when the cooperative stability will not be affected by you withdrawing from us. I'm sure the bylaw should be providing for that. Your bylaw.
I see. So I guess that is the answer also to the second part of his question, where he says, how long should it take for them to reimburse the shares?
Okay. So the board has the mandate to actually advise on how soon, because sometimes withdrawal of membership may affect the operations and cost the membership. So because it's been like collectivity, this kind of collectivity should, if one withdraws, should not actually be a cost to the others.
Okay.
But that does not mean that it will not be given. It's just timing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
And then Mr. Mukaba is asking, what happens to one's shares in the event of leaving the cooperative or is expelled?
So leaving the cooperative, either you have withdrawn, you have been expelled, yeah, or maybe you have gone in the other to the other world. So what will happen is that if you leave the cooperative, maybe when you pass on is a different case, because sometimes there could be a nominee. But when you leave the cooperative, just for instance, if the financial year ends in December, they can tell you that can you hold on until you have an audit for us to ascertain whether you've made a profit, because it's from the same profit that your share capital, which you want to withdraw, will earn some kind of interest. It is from the same operations where, when we have audited at the end of the year, where, because you have done business with the cooperative, your patronage bonus will be paid. So you don't need to rush the board. They will tell you all those reasons that can you hold on? Because they'll need to determine how much profit has been made for you to have a share of the interest on share capital, the patronage bonus.
I see.
Sure.
The next question is Dr. Mutimushi. Sorry, there seems to be feedback on your end. So she says, can people join the Avocado Cooperative just to buy shares, even if they have no interest in farming avocado?
Maybe those that want to buy shares, even when they don't have interest in
growing avocados. So basically, can somebody who just wants to invest and earn a share without having to be an avocado grower, can they join?
Now, Remember I talked about applying for sometimes as a cooperative board, as a cooperative general membership. Maybe I give you an example of a dairy cooperative.
Yes.
The driving force there is that we want to start bulking milk, processing byproducts from milk. But then Munzere says, me, I don't have any cow, but I want to join as a cooperative. Now, it's not cast in concrete. The board will sit and evaluate my application. Munzere has no cow. All he wants is to put in money. It's up to the discretion of the board to decide how Munzere is joining into this cooperative. Even when he's not going to be bringing in milk, he's going to contribute to the development of the cooperative. So the powers are within the board. No wonder they need to sit and evaluate my application.
I see.
Just one case. If, for instance, members are supposed to pay maybe minimum 3 shares, then Munzere has the passion to develop, for instance, Mongo. The avocado industry there needs to be grown. I will apply for membership. I don't have interest in growing avocado, but I'm ready to pay just there and then to pay up 10 shares just to see this cooperative go forward.
I see.
The mandate is with the board. The mandate is with the board. So they will decide that, okay, let's accept him. After all, he's coming with money.
Okay.
So they are the act that not restrict. No wonder in some cooperatives, they define membership. You can have honorary membership. I'm pumping in so much. All you do is operate, make sure that my money is getting interest, but I want this project to go forward. So it's up to the board.
Okay, sir.
It can also be something that is defined in the membership. I think I can be able to share something with you on the kind of membership some cooperatives have actually defined. There are those who just want to see this project, this product, go up to a certain level.
Yes, sir.
And they are not interested to grow avocado. All they want is to see avocado from Zambia reaching up to certain levels.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I have to stop you there, sir. Thank you so much. You have taken so much of your time to talk to us, and we really appreciate it. So we're going to end the presentation, but I wanted to ask your permission to share your slides with the rest of the group, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and I'm sure you... Sorry, sir?
It's a pity I was not seeing the participants. There are some lost men who are in Western who I wanted to tease on this platform because they've never been on a TV screen.
I'm sure they can hear you. No problem. I hope we'll have you again presenting to those who were not able to join us. But thank you so much, Shawab. We appreciate it. And thank you to all the members who joined us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good evening.